Hey folks, Eric here with some more books. Got some stuff at the bookstore, got some stuff from online. I'm going to share it all with you. I'm going to start with that, then I'm going to follow up with some channel stuff, looking for some feedback that I may or may not listen to. I don't know. So we're going to jump right in. These are in no particular order, except essentially by size, because I have a little side table here. So the biggest thing's on the bottom, up to the smallest stuff. So let's start with a couple of things I got at Half Price Books, and that is Transformers, Book 1, Hardwired. This is by Scott Sison, I don't know how you say his name. So it's a Transformers novel. And Transformers Book 2, Annihilation, by David Cyan. Again, not sure if that's how you say his name. And I had to order, I don't have Book 3, I had to order it online, because they didn't have it at Half Price Books. So there you go, a couple Transformers novels. Definitely not based on the movies. Pre-movie stuff. There was a Micronauts trilogy of novels as well that I would really love to get. I've found the first one, I haven't ordered it, found the first one relatively cheap. Don't know what good condition it is in, but the other ones are really difficult to find. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. A few other things from Half Price Books. We have Star Trek New Frontier, Book 4. It was by Peter David. There's his name. This does not have a subtitle. It is just Star Trek New Frontier, Book 4. I'm a fan of Peter David's writing. I like this series. It's a bunch of original characters, and then there are some characters from the TV show. It takes place at the same time as Next Generation. And one of the main characters in the books is Robin Leffler, who was a character that was played by Ashley Judd in at least one episode. I don't know if she made more than one appearance. But I enjoy this series. So that's Book 4. And then I have Star Trek New Frontier, Book 5, Martyr. This is one they started giving them little subtitles, also by Peter David. He wrote the entire New Frontier series, as far as I know. And even says, from the universe of Star Trek, The Next Generation. And they had Book 6, which is Fire on High. I'm at the point now, I think, where I need to make a list of which of these I have, so that I do not buy copies of a book I already have. So I now have these three, and I've got 3 or 4 or 5 piled up over there. I start to lose track. But I enjoy that series, as I said. Peter David can write some serious drama, but he also does some really fun, lighthearted stuff. Oh, and one of the things I find interesting. Let's take a look here. I want to look. This is Book 4, the earliest one that I have, and this is copyright 1997. So there's a character in here, one of the main characters, who is not, I don't think they're hermaphrodites, but there's something about they possess both genders, something. But they didn't use, or Peter David, he didn't use they as their pronoun. He would use S/HE for she, he, and HE/R for he, her, which I thought was interesting. I don't know if they was was being used back then. I don't know. It wasn't as in the forefront of things, what language, what pronouns were being used, at least for me back in 1997. Now it's, you add it to Twitter profile and things. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting how he did that. Didn't call the character he or she. It was written in this other way. And again, I don't know if they would have been the popular term that should have been used back then. Can't say. All right. Anyway, another one from Half Price Books. Because, do I give this away? I mean, I don't know. In my new show, my new series, whatever you want to call it, My Favorite Horror With, coming up, it will be the next one. I'm looking at my whiteboard over there. It will be the next one to come up after this video. I talk with Tim Meyer about the 80s horror movie The Funhouse, and we did discuss the fact that the novelization was written by Dean Koontz. It was actually originally written under his pen name Owen West, and I'm going to leave. I was going to say some other things, but I'll leave that for you to. We talk about it in that video, so I'll let you watch that. But I've never read this, and after rewatching the movie and then having the discussion with Tim Meyer, I decided I'd grab a copy so I could give this a read, see how it compares to the movie. Excuse me. All right, this one I picked up at Barnes & Noble. It is Outlaw, Relentless by Tristan Palmgren. And this is one of the Marvel Heroines books from Aconite. And I believe, I'm trying to read little tiny print here. I believe the same author. Let me see if I can find it bigger here somewhere. Yes. The same author wrote Domino. Best known to non-comics characters, but movie fans. Domino is in Deadpool 2. But I'm a fan of Domino. Outlaw is part of her crew. And so, and Outlaw's a mutant. But I dig Domino. I dig Outlaw. I actually have all the books in the Heroines line, which isn't that many so far. Those are the other three. I've only read Bloodstone so far. Love Bloodstone. But, yeah, cool stuff. Hopefully. Oh, see, now the pile's going to be upside down as I place them. I suppose I could just do this. Just turn that, and I can put them back on the other part of that little table. Okay, then we have some stuff I ordered. Some heavy books, man. There's a brick. Deadly Weapon. The Damned Place by Chris Miller, and its follow-up, The Damned Ones, also by Chris Miller. These are from Black Bedsheet Books, both of them. And this one's not quite as big, but this huge, thick book. And these are the books, if you watched my review of The Splatter Western Dust by Chris Miller, these are the books that have a connection to that. So, having read that, I want to read these. Looking forward to it. Another Aconite book. This is Pandemic, Patient Zero by Amanda Bridgman. So, Pandemic is an incredibly popular board game. I have never actually played it. I have the Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu, which is the Pandemic game with a Cthulhu skin. It's slightly different, but the general mechanics are the same. But in the game, there's outbreaks of these diseases. Every player has a character with a special ability, and you're trying to stop these outbreaks and find a cure. I believe if you find, I don't know if it's 3 or 4, probably 4 if it matches the Cthulhu game, 4 cures, then you win. And then, again, if it's like the Cthulhu game, there's multiple ways to lose. But this is the first of a new series set in the universe of the award-winning board game Pandemic, and it just seems interesting to me. A team of people fighting a pandemic. And seems appropriate at this time. But, yeah. I was actually excited. I always check out Aconite's website to see what they've got coming out, because they have all these great Marvel books and Arkham Horror, and they're doing these board game things / video game things, because they have Assassin's Creed. I have one of those. But there's a board game called Descent. They've got a series of those. It's a role-playing game, plus a card game, plus board games for Legend of the Five Rings. They got a bunch of those. Zombie Side, I'm looking forward to that one. That's a board game. I think I'm forgetting some, but anyway. Yeah, I was very excited when I saw this on their website. All right, this is from Half Price Books. The Woman in Black by Susan Hill. I broke my own rule. Spoilers, I needed this for another potentially upcoming episode of My Favorite Horror With. And I did not have time to get a copy from Amazon. Otherwise, I would have, or from Barnes & Noble online, I would have ordered a copy without the movie cover. But I didn't have that kind of time. I needed to read it really quickly. And this was the only copy I could find. So, as much as I dislike movie covers, I bought it. And I continually refer to this now as a Harry Potter book, because you got Daniel Radcliffe on the cover. But I've already read this one. I read it as soon as I got it. And that's all I'll say about it for now. You're going to have to watch the interview. Or possibly, I haven't decided if I'm going to review this, since it'll be covered in an episode of My Favorite Horror. I don't know. But there you go. Picked that up. And as part of if I'm ordering from Amazon, I have to order one of these. We have The Cat Creeper. Kevin A. Lewis. This is number 13 in the Rewind or Die series. So I'm moving along, although, let's pull my little notebook out. I think I mentioned this last time. In my notebook, I have 31 listed, and I haven't updated this list. So I'm not even halfway there yet. But I'm getting closer, and I do have another one on order, because I had just placed another Amazon order. I dig that cover, and I dig this series. All right, here's one. Now, I've always pronounced this word a certain way. I've heard somebody else pronounce it a different way. I don't know what the proper pronunciation is. I've always said Latinx. This person said it's Latinx. But anyway, it's Latinx Screams. And this is edited by V. Castro and Sina Paleo. And it's a short story collection of Latinx based, themed, centric stories. And I really dig that cover. Awesome, awesome cover. Then we have a short story collection, The Trick or Treater and Other Stories by Brianna Morgan. Recently, I'm way behind on my Ghoulish podcast with Max Booth III, a host. But I recently listened to his episode with Brianna Morgan, and they talk about this book, and it sounded really, really good, and I've been meaning to read her stuff anyway, so it seemed like the perfect time to pick it up. Plus, it's October. So, there you go. Then we have The Hag Witch of Trip Creek by Summer Cannon. Hopefully, you have watched my episode of, or the episode of My Favorite Horror with Summer Cannon. I've read 2 of her books, and I have the one she co-wrote with Wesley Southard, but I think that's it. And then some stuff she has short stories in, so I needed to pick up some more of her stuff, and that's a pretty wild cover. But she's a great writer and a great person. Then we've got the brand new one from Brian Smith, Racing with the Devil. This is from Grindhouse. I've been given publishers, but Grindhouse is one of my favorite publishers. It's a little tiny book, but it's new Brian Smith, so you know I'm going to buy it. Then, back to if I placed an order from Amazon, I'm ordering one of these. Gone Fishing by Walter Mosley. It is an Easy Rawlins book. This is prequel-ish. It kind of goes back and tells a story. Don't know exactly, because I haven't read it yet, but it's before the very first Easy Rawlins book, Devil in a Blue Dress. And it also featuring an original Easy Rawlins short story, Smoke. Really digging these. Back to Brianna Morgan, Unboxed, a play. So this is going to be a quick read, I think. It's a very tiny book. One of those that's so small, it doesn't have the title or anything on the spine. I've heard great things about this. Trying not to cover the author's name. And it's actually been on my wish list for a long time. But again, hearing her on the Ghoulish podcast, I was like, oh yeah, I got to pick up some of her stuff. And this is about a paranormal vlogger, and he buys a mystery box, something, and, things are not going to go well. Then we have this book that I bought based on Book Riot website. They had a list of comedy horror books. And this one seemed interesting. The cover disturbs me. Carmen Maria Machado calls it bananas good, funny and sharp and surprising and bittersweet. Just bananas. She has little banana emojis. I think that's what those are. This is a debut novel. This is called A Touch of Jen by Beth Morgan. And I guess it's about this couple who have not the most stable relationship, but they're both obsessed with this influencer named Jen, and they get a chance to spend a weekend with her and some other people, and apparently it gets crazy. I don't know. We'll see. I read the first couple pages on Amazon before I ordered it, and should be interesting, hopefully. And then finally, I got a comic book, a trade paperback. This is Pumpkinhead, Sins Revisited. It's written by Cullen Bunn. Art by somebody. Wow, I cannot read this. Blackie Shepherd is the artist. And there's a backup story as well. This is a 5-issue miniseries, plus the backup story, that takes place, I assume it's modern day, because if you've ever seen Pumpkinhead, the young teenage boy, Bunt, that's in that is a grown-up in this. And, someone wants revenge, so they call up Pumpkinhead, and then some other stuff goes on. I don't want to spoil it. I've already read it. Again, because coming up for my favorite horror, I speak with Mark Allen Gunnels about the movie Pumpkinhead. That was his choice. And I knew this was out there, that this existed, so I ordered it and got it real quick so I could read it before I talked with Mark Allen Gunnels about the movie Pumpkinhead. So that's it. That is my book haul this time. I don't think any of these were in the last book haul video. Pretty sure they weren't. I already had them put up on shelves and stuff in different places, so I had to look through the Instagram pictures on my phone to see which books I should gather for this. I couldn't remember. And I already have another Amazon order on the way, but that's not going to be here for a couple of days, and I wanted to do this so I could also do the channel part. So if all you wanted to see was books I got, That's it. You can go. I'll give you my general question right now. As always, for this kind of video, of all these books, what are you most interested in? So there you go. You can answer that in the comments below. All right, let's get to channel stuff for anyone who cares. First of all, just generally, if you watched my last channel update kind of thing, which I think was at the end of another book haul, I talked about what I was going to do in October, excuse me, as far as reading goes. And I said I was going to read books 2 and 3 of Jonathan Mayberry's Pine Deep trilogy. And I am about halfway through book 2, Dead Man's Song. There you go. But here's the problem. It's 400 and some pages, which isn't huge, but it's really dense. It's dense writing. You'll find out what I think when I get to my review of it. But it's taking a while to read it. And I only have one review left recorded for my channel here. So if I wait until this is done and then read the next one immediately following, I'm not going to have any reviews for a while. So I think I'm going to change things up. And I already stopped. Like, I read a couple chapters of this, and then I ended up reading something else. I think Monday's review, tomorrow's review, if you're watching this, the day it came out. I stopped because I read a different book because it might, someone I'm going to be interviewing for My Favorite Horror talked about, they gave me a movie pick and they gave me a book pick. And I was like, well, I've seen the movie and I own it, so I can rewatch it if you want to talk about that. I have not read the book, but I do own it. So I read the book real quick and then sent them a message. And I said, all right, I've read that now, so we can do the movie or we can do the book. They went with the movie. And you'll see what that is eventually. But anyway, so I had interrupted reading the Jonathan Mayberry to read that. Got back to the Jonathan Mayberry, interrupted again so I could read The Woman in Black. Now I'm back to the Jonathan Mayberry, but as I said, it's going to take, I think, too long. So I think I have time to finish the Jonathan Mayberry. If I do a review of The Woman in Black, then I'll have enough. I'll have 2 reviews, which will be Monday and Friday. I'll be finished with the Jonathan Mayberry, barring any unforeseen circumstances, in time to have it reviewed for the following Monday. But then, if I start the second book, I wouldn't have anything for Friday, possibly the next Monday, because I'm working a lot of hours at the day job. So, this is the plan. I'm going to finish this, and then I'm going to read some shorter stuff. I want to read Trick or Treater and Other Stories by Brianna Morgan, and that should be pretty quick. I want to read Racing with the Devil by Brian Smith, because, where is that? Right on the back, it says it's Halloween night, so that seems like a good thing to read right now. So I think I'm going to read a few smaller things. Maybe I'll throw in another Rewind or Die, because those are usually pretty quick. I got a lot of good, I got tons of great stuff I can read, and I want to keep the reviews flowing. But then, I may or may not, I don't know if I'm going to, maybe read 2 or 3 or 4 books real quick, and then get to the 3rd book in the Pine Deep trilogy. I should, because the whole trilogy just takes place basically in October of 1 year. So it's 1 month, 3 books, 1 month, I believe. So I was thinking about saving it for next year, but that's a long time to wait, and I wanted to read them pretty close together. So we'll see. But it's definitely, at this point, finish that, read some small stuff, then I may jump into that, And if it looks like I'm going to run out of reviews again, I'll set that aside, read a couple quick things before I go back to it. Anyway, I don't know if anybody cares about any of this, but that's the plan as far as book reviews go. Now, here's the main thing I wanted to talk about and get some feedback on. Hopefully, people are watching my new series, My Favorite Horror With. I liked this idea when I came up with it. I still like this idea, and it's great talking to people and talking about their favorite horror movie or their favorite horror book. But my original idea was to sort of break down whatever we're talking about. We're going to talk about what they like about it, but I saw it as breaking down, say it's, what have I posted already? Well, Pandorum was the first one. So I was still definitely finding my way, but let's say Pandorum. We're talking about it. That was with Jared Barbie. Talking about why he likes it. We didn't break it down too much, but we could have. If it had been the way it's going in my head, we would have sort of broken down the whole movie, talked about scene to scene. Not super in-depth, except for those parts we wanted to, because this is why, let's say, Jared Barbie likes the movie, because this is one of his favorite scenes. We break that down a lot. Is this making sense? So there'd be spoilers. But I've gotten some pushback on that from a couple of people who don't think we should be spoiling what we're talking about. So I guess what I want to know is, how do you feel about that? Do you care if there are spoilers? Now, I did, in the first few interviews, I didn't say anything, I don't remember, before starting the discussion of whatever it is we're talking about. I didn't say anything about spoilers. I think I've started doing it. I don't remember. But, so my idea was, because generally I introduce the guest, we talk about some just random stuff, and then we get into what we're talking about. And the idea now is that I say, okay, we're gonna spoil this. We're gonna break it down. There's gonna be spoilers. Now with a movie, and what I've said, I think, is if you haven't seen the movie, pause this video, go watch the movie, and then come back, because we're going to spoil it. Which generally for a movie is fine, because that's hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm not saying literally pause the video, watch the movie, and immediately come back to the video, but you know what I'm saying. But it doesn't work as well for a book, because that's more time consuming. Now, conceivably, you can pause the video, spend the next however many days or weeks or whatever, however long it takes you to read something, and then come back and watch the video. So what do you think? Are you going to care if there are spoilers? I mean, spoilers mean different things to different people. If we're talking about, okay, I'm going to pick something old, so if you don't know this already, I'm saying it's on you. But let's say The Sixth Sense was a new movie, relatively new. We're talking about this on my show, and, well, no. Forget that part. Talking about The Sixth Sense, when it's relatively new. If you say, yeah, Bruce Willis is dead the whole time, that's obviously a spoiler for the movie. But I've mentioned this before. Some of you may have heard this already. One of my sisters thinks that mentioning a character is a spoiler. I was talking to her and her husband about the show Doctor Who. I asked her husband if they had gotten to the Amy Pond episodes yet, and my sister got mad at me, said that was a spoiler. Now she knows there's going to be a character named Amy Pond. So, what I'm saying is, spoilers mean different things to different people. And if I'm talking to somebody about why a movie or a book or whatever is their favorite thing, I think there's going to, at the very least, be tiny spoilers. But my idea was to break down the book or movie. But some people have been fine with that. Some people have given me a little pushback. Don't think that's what should be done. So I want your thoughts. I may or may not listen to what you have to say, but if 100% of people are like, no, we don't want spoilers, then again, I may or may not listen. No, I'd probably listen then. I think my fear is that I'm not an intellectual. I don't break down and find the subtext and all that stuff, and I'm afraid that without that structure of breaking down the movie and talking about the things, that I'm not going to have anything to say. Besides, yeah, I really liked that scene. That was funny. Or that was scary. So anyway, yeah, that's my rambly way of saying, what do you think? Have you seen the show? Are you enjoying it? I have, let's see. I have 3 already recorded that are ready to go. I have 2 more scheduled. There's one that was recorded, but there were problems, so we're going to re-record. So there's that. And then I've got a bunch of irons in the fire trying to get different people. But have you seen the show? What do you think about it? Oh, I am adding, because in one of the episodes, the guest and I spend the first 45 minutes talking about card games and board games. So I have added in the description of each episode, it will tell you if there's spoilers, if there's adult language, and then if I feel it's necessary, and it's definitely, I think, necessary in that episode, I will mention when the discussion of the movie or book starts. Because if you're coming in and it's, it's my favorite horror with this person and they're talking about this, and then 45 minutes of it is something completely different before we even get to the movie that we're talking about, I can see where people might be like, what the hell is this? And shut it off or whatever. So in the description, because I do not have the capabilities of putting it like in the video at the beginning saying you can skip to this time, but I will put down in the description when you can jump to the movie talk. I mean, I don't think you should skip the card game and board game talk, but so I'm going to have that. My initial idea was to try to keep these at about an hour, but I'm a talker, obviously, and a lot of the people I have on the show are talkers, which is kind of the point. I always love talking to Max Booth III. Summer Cannon was great. Everybody's has been wonderful, but man, should I even say that? Like, Summer Cannon was so fantastic. She was so easy to talk to. She was so much fun. Max Booth, again, always fun. Some of the upcoming ones. See, I don't want to... I'm teasing some of the upcoming ones. Oh, and that's the other thing. In the descriptions now, I didn't do it in the first few, but I'm going to start putting in what the next week's show is going to be. If I have that information. As a matter of fact, I'm going to try, if I have the information, to put it at the end of each video. So, the Max Booth III episode has already gone up. I hadn't thought of doing this yet, so it's not in the video, but in the description it says, next week, this is the guest, this is what we're talking about. So again, you've got a week now, if you want, to watch the movie or read the book, just in case there's spoilers. So yeah, that's my long, rambly thing. But what are your thoughts? Do you care if there's going to be spoilers? A lot of the stuff has been pretty old, relatively speaking, like not ancient. We're not talking about silent movies, but stuff from the 80s, definitely. But at least one is only a couple of years old. So, thoughts. All right, that's it. I've rambled. So there you go. That's a bunch of books I got that I wish I had more time to read. Some questions for you. I'm interested in your thoughts. And that's it. So, if you have any comments, questions, corrections, please put them in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is @Ronin5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, and fuzzy animals, is Eric Smith 5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH 5757. That's all I've got for you. So until next time, read more books.